Ghost. I call him Ghost. Yeah, William Inshallah. So, Ghost, what's going on, man?
It's a new year, 2018. Just about 13 days into the year. However, the beauty of the building is always about the foundation. If the foundation is faulty, no matter how majestic the building looks, it's only a matter of time. Now, more or less, the foundation for everything we become in life is our belief system. Once the belief is faulty, the life will be faulty. Belief is solid, the life will be solid. Now, in life, we want to succeed, we want to achieve great things, we want peace of mind, we want abundance, we want good health. All those things we want in life, they are simply outcomes. Success is an outcome. Failure is an outcome. Stress is an outcome. Peace of mind is an outcome. Good health is an outcome. Bad health is an outcome. However, according to what you always say, behind every outcome in life is a belief. So which means that what determines our outcomes in life is what we believe. No matter how long it takes, you will become what you think. And that's why the good book says, as he thinks, so is he. So it is very, very wrong to judge a man based on his results. If you want to judge a man, judge him based on what he thinks. Because what he thinks will determine everything that happens to him in life. Now, when our lives are like an empty cup, when we were born, that cup was empty. It was a totally empty cup. But as we began to grow up in life, especially being influenced by our parents, our teachers, and so many things, that cup gradually began to fill up. You are mad. It went inside the cup. You will not succeed. It went inside the cup. We can't afford that. It went inside the cup. You will never make it in life. It went inside the cup. Gradually, the cup became full. Now that cup, more or less, is our minds. So all those things that went inside that cup eventually will become our belief system. Now, if somebody has continually told you when you were young that you won't succeed, that becomes a core belief and it continues to drive your life all through, and you keep wondering why you are not succeeding. You set goals, but you can't achieve those goals because your beliefs are contrary to the goals. They are not in alignment. So a lot of people who are spiritual, they think it's the devil. They think it's God. No, it's not. It's neither of those parties. It is simply your belief system. Because you don't judge a tree by the fruits. The fruits on the tree are determined by the roots. If the roots are healthy, the fruits are going to be healthy. If the roots are not healthy, if the roots are not healthy, the fruits definitely will also not be healthy. Now, look at that cup I was talking about. When you keep filling that cup with negative things, that cup can be likened to a cup that is filled with contaminated water. If you pour contaminated water on a plant, what is going to happen to the plant? It's going to become contaminated because you are planting it with contaminated water and also on bad soil. The mind is, when you fill the mind with negative thoughts, there's no way you are going to live a positive life. You are going to end up living a negative life. So if you want to change your life, you have to start by changing your beliefs. You don't change your location. You don't change your job. You change your beliefs. When you change your beliefs, every other thing about you is going to change. That's why it is first in and then without.
So it seems like you're talking about the entirety of the human operating system. And, so if we create an analogy, your phone, so if you use an Apple phone, it operates on an iOS system.
Yes.
If you use the other phones, they operate on an Android. operating system. So
Yes.
you have the hardware, which is the phone. No matter how beautiful the phone is, no matter what the promised functionalities of that phone are, no matter what the features are, no matter what the phone is created to do, that phone can never function if the operating system is faulty, if there's a virus in the operating system, if the operating system is not updated to the most current operating system. That's on the one side. Now, we have two critical operating systems. We have the Apple iOS and we have the Android.
Yes.
Now, the Apple operating system, if you put it on an Android phone, it will never work.
No.
And if you put an Android operating system on an Apple hardware, it will never work.
No.
So, in those terms, right, we're talking about the intricacies, we're talking about the importance, we're talking about, the critical importance of your belief system. It's quite important that I often say that you need to, first of all, find the origin of something. Before you find the origin, you find the benefits for you before you can change it or replace it with something else. And oftentimes, I always say that replacement is the best way to change something. So if you want to change a habit, you have to replace it with another habit.
Right.
If you say that you had a habit and you wanted to change it and you didn't replace it with anything, with time, you're going to fall back to that habit, or you're going to pick up another habit that may be detrimental to you. So when we begin to talk about beliefs, I believe we've laid enough foundation to exactly what a belief is. It's the operating system that drives every thought. It's the operating system that drives every decision. It's the operating system that drives every emotion. It's the operating system that drives your perception to life. It's the operating system that drives every word that you speak. It's the operating system that drives your attitude. It's the operating system that drives your habitual behavior. It's the operating system that drives your actions. And ultimately, it's the operating system that delivers your results. So I say to people, if you want to change what you are getting, change the input. So it's input, output. And what is the input? It's your belief.
Right.
But unfortunately, beliefs do not just create themselves. Beliefs are created by three fundamental and critical things. Number one is your value system. And unfortunately, a lot of people inherited their values from their environment, from their parents, from people that they held in very high esteem when they were growing up. So talking about the first, third of the cup. That cup is first of all filled with your value system. So you've got to ask yourself, what are my 5 core values? And who did I get those values from? So if you picked it up from your father, you need to ask yourself, those values, what kind of outcomes did he create in my father's life? So if my father had very warped values around relationships and marriages, and he had different women, different children for different women, and he's your hero, and unfortunately you imbibe his values, you will find out that the way his life turned out, your life will turn out that way. So you need to first of all ask yourself, the output that those values created for my father, is that what I want for myself? If not, the first thing that you need to do is elicit those values and identify the positive opposite and replace those old values with the positive opposite of those values, because if you constantly leave those old values, they will constantly create those outcomes. So if you change those values, it will change your outcomes. The second thing is the second third of the cup is your experience, your education, and your learning over time. And we talk about experience, we talk about education, we talk about learning. We talk about it in the formal setting and in the informal setting. So if you went to school to study auditing or accounting, you will find out that auditors and accountants, they think and they behave in a certain way. They have fundamental core related beliefs. Architects behave in a certain way, they do things in a certain way. Lawyers, they speak in a certain way, they think in a certain way, they have core beliefs that drive their profession. So your education shapes your beliefs. Your experience over time, how be it positive and negative, creates references and reinforcements that validate or that reinforce or create beliefs. And then your learning from education and experience. Because when you deploy what you know, your knowledge, when you deploy your past experiences, you learn new things. So your learning further validates, creates, and reinforces your beliefs. And thirdly, the way you perceive your relationship in your environments. When we talk about relationships, you have relationships with people and you have relationship with things. So how do you relate with money? How does money relate with you? How do you relate with women? How do women relate with you? How do you relate with men? How do men relate with you? How do you relate within your family? How does your family relate with you? So how you interpret your interaction within your environment influences and reinforces your core beliefs. Now, those three fundamental foundations or roots are the triggers that create beliefs and reinforce beliefs. So if you want to change your beliefs, you've got to test those three components. How you perceive, how you interact, how you interpret your interaction. So you've got to ask yourself some fundamental questions. What are the 5 most critical perceptual styles that I have? How do I perceive my relationship with women? How do I perceive women? How do I perceive men? How do I perceive money? How do I see it? Because how you see influences what you see, and ultimately influences your convictions about what you see. So when you begin to test all of those 3 things, right, one thing begins to happen. You begin to alter how you feel about certain things. So your emotions begin to change. You begin to alter the words and the thoughts that you create. You begin to alter your belief system and your convictions. And immediately your belief system is altered by an alteration of your value system, an alteration of your experience, education, or learning, alteration of your perception to life. Your expectations about your outcomes will change. Your attitude will change. Your habitual behavior will change. Your actions will change. Ultimately, your outcomes will change. And so, another way to change your belief is to ask yourself, this is what I want. This is my desired outcome. Ask yourself what your core 5 values are and what your core 5 beliefs are. And ask if they align. Without an alignment between your ultimate goals, your values, and the beliefs that drive you, it will never happen. Your outcomes will never be as you want it to be. So you now begin to ask yourself, what values will align with my desires in life, with my dreams, with my goals, with my vision? You list those. What core beliefs will drive it? So for example now, humility and when you're growing up and your parents tell you, money is the root of all evil. In this family, it's important that you don't chase after money. It's important that you are humble. It's important that you live your life, in a very, very chilled and reserved way, right? Those values drive you. And then you have beliefs that say that rich men are thieves. Wealthy people stole money. And then you say you want to be a billionaire. How is that going to happen? Your operating system is wrong. Ultimately, your outcomes will be a life of, confusion. Because internally, you are conflicted. So what begins to happen is, if you go and apply for a job as an investment banker, your operating system limits you. And so you are in the strategy session, they are saying you go and deliver $10 billion. Inside of you, you know of a certainty that what that interprets to is destruction, because you'll be letting down your family. You've heard it over and over again from your father, even though he never consciously taught it to you, but it's been ingrained in you. And so that operating system, right, those core beliefs will continually drive you. And so what you've got to do is to ask yourself, do you want to live your father's life? Do you want to live your life through your father's perspective? perception? Or do you want your father now to continue living his life through you? Because you have to make a decision about your own life and the outcomes that you desire in your own life. It is very, very, very key that this subject matter called beliefs, we take it absolutely seriously. You know, one of the most profound things that I've ever heard, right, in my life is this quote from the Bible. Jesus said that if only you can believe, then all things are possible to him that believes. Now, I believe that that's the greatest statement ever said by anyone. If only you can believe, then all things are possible to him that believes. The reverse is also true. If only you don't believe, then nothing is possible to you because you don't believe. So thank you very much for calling. So just drop the phone and I'll walk you through it. Right? You know, I was talking about the most profound statement I've ever heard in my life, right? If we look at the aeroplane, that thing called aeroplane that flies in the air. It took a set of brothers to sit down and to believe that we can create something that will fly like a bird. So they sat down and they watched the bird, and birds fly day in, day out. And they said to themselves, you know, why can't we put people in a machine that can fly them from point A to B? It required a belief. Now, for people to create ships, boats that float on water, if you throw this key inside water, it will sink. Have you seen those humongous ships that float on water? It required someone to sit down and to believe that it is possible. Now, this thing that we are carrying about called mobile phones, do you know that the capacity of a mobile phone, right, at 30 years ago, for you to have that capacity, it required you to have a building like 4 times the size of Beat FM. Now we're carrying that handheld device in our hand simply because someone dared to believe. Now, I wanted people to check their lives and the outcomes of their lives, and if they're experiencing things that they don't want, if they want to change it, it will only cost you 500 naira, 499 naira. I studied this and I created an audio CD that is in 3 parts. The first part is what psychologists and philosophers have told us about belief. So I did a research on what psychologists and philosophers came to tell us and have told us and have predicted, you know, will happen to us and what they have defined beliefs as. The second part of it is I studied Jesus and that statement, if only you can believe, all things are possible, and how he created, you know, healing, how he healed many people and did many miracles. And so I studied Jesus and I broke down how and what Jesus taught us about belief. So the woman with the issue of blood, the woman that bled for 12 years, went to meet him. He didn't know anything about it. She sat in her house and she said to herself, if only I can touch the hem of his garment. But don't forget that for 12 years of her life, she had bled. She had spent all her money. Then she woke up one morning and said, come to think about it, you know what? If I can just touch his slippers, if I can just, you know, say hi to him, if I can just be in his vicinity, I'll be healed. What was that? It was her belief. But she didn't know what she did. So she went out and touched him in the midst of thousands of people. And Jesus knew that something called belief had connected with him and had drawn virtue out of him. So he asked his disciples, who touched me? And they said, stupid man, thousands of people pressing against you. What do you mean who touched you? Peter touched you. John touched you. Simon touched you, right? And he said, no. Some belief drew that virtue from me. And the woman came to him and said, I touched you. You know what Jesus said to her? He said to her, your belief healed you. He was teaching her a fundamental principle so that she can reproduce it, so that it's not a fluke, right? Now, there was a military ruler that came to meet him on his way to going to heal or to raise a child from death. And the military ruler said to him, I'm not worthy for you to come into my house. Speak a word. And as you speak a word, I believe that my soldier will be healed. And Jesus looked at him and says, I've never seen such great belief system. And Jesus spoke, and the Bible says that in that same moment, he was healed. What healed that guy was the military ruler's belief. Now, on that same journey, right, they came to meet Jesus, and no, Jesus was on his way to raise the dead. And those people believed that Jesus needed to come into their house to lay hands on the dead child for that child to rise. And Jesus honored that belief. So the second part of that CD is what Jesus came to teach us about beliefs. And the third part of that CD is how you can change your beliefs. And I'm sure people are wondering, where do I get that CD? So we have created a platform called Life Zone. So if you go to www.lifexone.org and you look for the CD called Nothing is Impossible, Everything is Possible, in line with your beliefs, you will find that CD, and I want you to just quickly get that CD. 2018 is the best year that you have ever lived. However, it will only manifest based on your beliefs. So let me read out the website again. www.lifexone.org. Go to Life Zone if you want to enrich your life. Go look for the CD, Nothing is Impossible. Everything is possible. Activating the power of your beliefs.
Nothing is impossible.
Yes, nothing is impossible. Everything is possible. Activating the power of your beliefs. There are two parts of that CD. There's the first part and there's the X part. So if you're a Muslim, you don't want the part about the Jesus part. You have a CD that has taken out the learnings from Jesus. If you practice another religion and you feel a certain way towards not learning from Jesus, it's okay. You've got a CD that we've taken out that part, and we've got the X part that has the Jesus part included in it. So you have no excuse, because it took me years to put that research together, because this thing that we're talking about, beliefs, deep. Deep.
Oh, without it, there's nothing to life. There's nothing to life. It's all, belief is everything. Belief is everything. But one thing I want people to do is this: if you continue thinking the same way you've been thinking, where will you be at the end of 2018? Where will you be in 5 years' time? Where will you be in 10 years' time? Having it in mind that wherever you are today is a result of the way you've been thinking. So if you continue thinking the same way, what will your future look like?
Wow. You are the captain of your ship. Right. You are the driver towards your destiny, and you are the master of your fate. Albert Einstein says this as I close: the definition of insanity is to keep thinking the same thing the same way, to keep believing the same thing the same way, to keep acting the same way over and over and over again, expecting a different result. And I believe that everyone that is listening to us today is not insane. So what you've got to do is change your thoughts, change your beliefs, change your actions, and everything about your life will change. You are responsible for your life. It's time to stop blaming Nigeria.